All right. I'm going to call the meeting to order. You don't have to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I guess we'll just say the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Anybody for public forum, Ashley?
Yes, Kevin Reese first, and then
Okay.
Shannon Smith.
Okay. All right, Kevin.
I could unmute myself. Thank you. I always try to share good news each month because I believe it helps foster goodwill and a spirit of cooperation, community, and quite frankly, as human beings, we need to hear those kind of messages. I want to thank Neil for the hard work he did in getting such a large number of faculty and staff access to the COVID vaccine. The principals and office staff worked really hard and were incredibly flexible to try to get coverage for everybody, for the various classes and staff, to allow everybody to get their first dose of the vaccine. The staff were extremely grateful for these efforts. We're also aware that Neil has been continuing to work on getting the vaccine offered to even more of our staff by having Taconic Hills used as a vaccination site. We truly appreciate those efforts. You may or may not remember my advocating for a hybrid model in opening the school in September against Neil's recommendations. I'm grateful that we've been able to sustain an in-person model of teaching for much longer than I truly believed was possible. I emailed all of you a letter last week advocating for a planned temporary pivot to remote learning for 2 weeks. The rationale behind this plan was to give our families, our students, and staff the ability to plan. Additionally, although the COVID cases, from what I understand, in Columbia County are beginning to dip, they're certainly growing at Taconic Hills. And the number of students and staff that need to be quarantined are increasing. I think a temporary pause on in-person instruction would help alleviate a lot of the last-minute quarantine issues. Some of the issues that come up with the last-minute notification of a quarantine is that students might not have their laptops or Chromebooks at home. Families are scrambling to try to find childcare at the last minute. They may, the quarantine without notice, putting members of their families at risk. Teachers may get notified that evening or even when they come in the next morning, so they might not have their critical teaching materials that they use every day. A planned switch to remote learning prevents a lot of those details from being overlooked and ensures students have access to the materials they need. That gives parents time to try to arrange for appropriate childcare, and hopefully they wouldn't lose work by having that kind of notification. It ensures your faculty will have the materials they need to continue to provide the extraordinary level of teaching that they've been consistently doing since March, since the original closure. It will assure the faculty and staff won't miss their second vaccine due to needing to be quarantined, because there were some people who had signed up for the first one, couldn't get it because they were in quarantine. I guess the other thing that it would do is it would disrupt the spread of this disease amongst our school community. Since returning from the holiday break, we've needed to quarantine a number of classes at a time, as low as 1 at a time, and as we got notified yesterday, as many as 4 at a time. And quarantining is much different than remote learning. I don't want to go through and read the New York State quarantine guidelines that they have, but just to sort of highlight some of them. The individual is supposed to be in a separate bathroom, have a separate bathroom facility. They're supposed to have a separate bedroom, supposed to have a separate access to their room. They're not supposed to leave their quarters at all. It's very different than being on remote. The person's not supposed to leave their home. They're supposed to have their food delivered to their room. They're supposed to have their garbage bag, a system for temperature checking and symptom monitoring. It's very complicated if you truly follow the New York State quarantine rules. I guess I'm like I said in the letter last week, this time I'm verbally asking for you to consider a planned 2-week shift to remote learning to try to break the cycle that we appear to be caught up in. You've taken the appropriate conservative measures surrounding how we hold our board meetings to protect people in this way. I guess I'd like to see that same level of safety be brought to the students and the school community. My concern is I want to figure out a way to break this cycle that we seem to be in. From my perspective, we're in since we've come back from the holiday break. And I truly appreciate your time in reading the letters the letter that I sent you and allowing me to speak at every board member. I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Shayna Smith, next.
Bonnie, can I just say something?
Yeah.
Apparently there's a bunch of people in the public that can't get on,
Yeah, I heard that.
and it's because they have the previous, the January 19 email. Or the link, I guess it's on the Facebook page for the Taconic Hills.
Was the link that's on the website updated?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Should we tell these people to go to the website?
yeah, yep.
I guess there's a bunch.
I did, but they're still having trouble.
They may need to refresh their browser in order to access the most recent link.
Okay. Thank you.
So Ron also is texting me, says, yeah, but his meeting says for 119. All right, I'm gonna know if there's another email.
I think he's on, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. I didn't see him. All right. Hi, Ron, wherever you are. Okay. All right, Shayna.
Good evening. So as Kevin said, thank you for listening and hopefully reading the letter that was sent early last week. I'm speaking tonight to voice some additional concerns that my colleagues and I have as we look back on the last few weeks after a return from December break. Cases in the area and at Taconic Hills have continued to rise. Today alone, Columbia County has reported 65 cases and 5 deaths. In the last 16 days since we've returned to school, we've been informed of 5 confirmed positive cases at Taconic Hills, which has put immense stress on students, their families, and ultimately our staff as well. Many of us have been told that the Department of Health is overwhelmed and not able to adequately inform potential exposures to quarantine, putting everyone at more risk. We question every day whether the students in our classroom or a colleague across the hall is unknowingly exposing us and putting our student body and our families in danger. Many of us are grateful to have received the first dose of the vaccine. However, a large number of colleagues had to miss this opportunity because of a school-related quarantine. Those that were able to get the first dose are becoming increasingly worried about that they could potentially be quarantined and miss their second dose of the vaccine, thus negating the work done by the district to get us fully vaccinated. As a member of the Taconic Hills Executive Committee, I fully support the letter we sent to each of you last week. A 2-week planned period of remote instruction would help alleviate the tension and unease in our community and at a point when the pandemic is at its worst. And ultimately, we want to be with our students and we want to be instructing them. This is just a temporary solution to mitigate some of the potential spread that is happening ultimately. And again, I thank you for your time and that's it.
All right, thank you, Shayna. Ashley, is there any more for public forum?
No, I'm not sure if anybody that just jumped on.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on then. All right, I need a motion for the acceptance of the agenda because all the board members are spread around that I can't see you all at once. So I need a motion. Who wants to motion? Just tell me your name when you yell it out. Heidi, or I see you. Heidi, motion. Second,
Motion, Joe.
Joe, all right. Any questions about the agenda?
We had a late item and I didn't get a chance to look at it yet because I just got home. Was there a change that was late?
They added the,
Yeah, there was a couple of things.
yeah. So,
There was a couple of things that were added.
so we do have 3 retirements. We have Virginia De Palma, we have Sharon Foster, and Denise Delarocco. There will be done, 2 of them will be done June of this year. The other will be done Sharon will be done by the end of February. So we want to thank you all for your service to the school district. And we wish you well in your next journey in life, wherever that takes you. So you said, Terry, you didn't see the,
Yeah, I'm reading it now.
okay.
I just want to,
Does anyone have any? Oh, wait, that's a consensus agenda. I'm sorry. All right, so does anybody have any questions about the actual agenda itself? All in favor? I just need you to say maybe aye, so I can, Joe, how about Ron,
Aye.
Alicia? Ron, are you there?
Linda, I.
Ron?
Ron said aye.
Okay, you're muted, Ron. Take yourself off of mute. Okay, sorry, guys. Wow, I'm going through all these screens here. Okay. Now I need a motion for the acceptance of the consensus agenda. Motion,
Ron motioned.
Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, Ron,
Ron motioned and I'll second it.
all right. Ron, are you still on mute?
I don't think so.
Oh,
No,
you
you're
go.
there now.
Okay, now I can hear you. All right, any questions about the consensus agenda? Sorry, I know I confused you last one on that. Anybody got questions on any of this? All right, all in favor?
aye.
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 Aye,
Ron?
Joe, Ron.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right, there's no presentations at this time. We got reports. Dr. Howard, Superintendent.
Good evening, folks. I would just like to say the state aid from the governor's office was released. We are sorting through that. Sybil's going to talk a little bit about that later. I would like to say that we have 85 teachers with their first vaccinations and 25 non-faculty members with the first vaccinations. So that's 110, and we have 1 individual who's gotten vaccinated from a different location. We're moving forward with that. We met with the health department today to formulate plans to potentially have a closed pod. Of course, as you know, that this is a supply issue that we are dealing with, but we're doing the best we can and to be expeditious as possible. I will note that we have the highest number of employees with the first vaccine in the county. And so we are leading in that respect. We do have some retirements rolling in, approximately 5 faculty and staff at this point. We expect a few more. In moving forward with one of the board's goals of communication, we are working with Apogee to set up a new website and some new messaging apps and building out some more communication tools for the district to reach out to taxpayers who do not have children in the district. We look forward to have a committee for grading at some time in the future, so I need board members to think about that. And I also would like to have a report card, graduation workshop, and also a finance workshop. I know Sybil's working with the board budget committee on setting a date to go through the process of how we start and get things moving in the budget. So I'm hoping that maybe February 3rd,
we can have a report card / graduation workshop. And sometime after that, we can have a finance workshop. So is there, I guess, any thoughts on that?
So February 3rd for the grading / graduation.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
And what were you thinking for the budget?
Well, we have our next meeting on February 17th, which is the break week. So not to stack anything up, but we could have one February 10th, or we could wait till afterwards on the February 24th.
Neil? Oh, in the morning of on the 3rd is the capital conference budget workshop on Zoom. I don't know. I signed up for it.
Okay.
I
So
don't
this
know
would
if that
be,
information will be helpful or not, but that's from 8:30 to 1. If there's any other board members, I guess, who would be interested.
well, it would be in the afternoon or in the
Right.
evening, probably be at
Right.
5:30.
But the information might be helpful if people attend for the morning, for the afternoon workshop.
I guess that's up to the board members.
What date is that workshop, Terry?
That's February 3rd.
What day is that?
It's a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, okay.
So it's from 8:30 to 1.
I'll still be working until the 5th.
Yeah.
Then I'm done forever.
Just to comment a little bit on our meeting today with the health department. The first vaccine, the reports coming from Moderna are that it has an 82% efficacy after 14 days. And some of the reports now are coming out of Israel, reporting a 9% after the 2 doses. So what they're stressing is that there have been no spreads in school districts, and that all of this is coming from outside and being brought into school. So there's been no documented in-school spread.
All right. Let's get back to the dates here. So February 3rd, February 17th is our board meeting. Does anyone have any objections to doing another workshop on the 10th?
I think the sooner we do it, the better. I know,
I agree.
since we already missed one, so the 10th is fine with me.
And you want to do the budget then, Sybil, or what was the other one?
The finance
The
workshop.
finance. Do the
But you're
finance.
talking,
So we
Sybil
were-
was talking about the budget committee.
Well, we were going to do a workshop with the full board
Mhm.
on financial condition, and then the budget committee is 3 board members.
Right.
So we could meet in person here on campus if folks are comfortable with that. In the boardroom, we have plenty of space. But we could schedule that, between the 4 or 5 of us.
Okay. So should we do that before we do the financial workshop? Or should we do the financial workshop and then meet afterwards? Or should we do, which one would you suggest that we do?
I'd say if we could do the budget workshop in the next week or so, that would be great, because at the February 17th board meeting, I will be doing a rollover presentation. So we don't want to stack too much of that information up on top.
Have a budget committee meeting first.
Yes.
And what's next week look like? It's me, Linda, and who's the other person? Is it Heidi?
Alicia, I believe.
Alicia. Okay. You guys good for next week, Alicia or Linda? I don't think I have anything going on other than, normal stuff, work. Next week. I think I'm good. Linda, how about you? Oh, you're on mute, so we can't hear you. Alicia?
Sorry, it's fine.
All right. Alicia, you good? Where's Alicia? Are you good?
You
Okay,
asking me?
All right, so what day is a good day for you, Sybil?
At your convenience.
All right, so how about we do? How about we do the 27th?
Sure.
January 27th, that good for you guys? And we'll
27th?
do, can you do 5:30? Can you do
Yep.
5:30, Sybil?
Yes.
All right, 5:30 it is. All right, sounds good. All right. And then February 10th, we want to do the financial workshop, correct?
Sounds good.
All right.
What
And was-
time are those?
So those will be 5:30, the workshops.
Okay.
And then
And
was
what's
there
on the
another
3rd?
one? February 3rd?
What's
Yeah,
on the 3rd? I'm
That's the
sorry.
graduation/grading.
Oh, okay.
And then February 10th is the financial workshop. Our
Oh,
board
okay.
meeting's the 17th, that's at 6:30. Was there another workshop we needed to get in, Neil?
Well, the board had talked about setting up a committee for grading. That was the only other thing that was on my list.
Okay. Dave, we do have to get a policy meeting in here sometime too, because based on our decision, we need to start working on that policy Jim's gonna work with us and bring some thoughts and ideas so we need to get a policy meeting together too.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so let's think about the last one, Neil, all right? Our plate's full at this moment, so
Sure. No, we got some time.
all right. Is that done? Is that all your report? I'm sorry, we got busy doing all these dates do you have anything else, Neil?
No, I think we're good for now. We're just very busy preparing with the governor's announcements, still dealing a lot with COVID, and we ask for everybody's patience.
I would
Okay.
appreciate if somebody could send us an email summarizing the meetings that we just agreed on. I took notes, but I wanted to make sure that we all have the same information.
Okay, yep,
I'll send it out.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so next up we have John Gulsane, Elementary School. Hi, John.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to report that we've launched successfully a new initiative at the elementary school to encourage our students to do their very best and get recognized for that. It's called the Titan Strong Initiative. And since we started just before Christmas break, we have had 34 students so honored by their teachers and staff. What this involves is the kids get a sticker to wear during the day when they're caught doing good. And then on Friday morning, we announce that they come down to the lobby and we have Matt Perry take a nice photo of the students. You may have seen some of those on our scroll. So this is just something we're trying to do to encourage our kids to do good things and to be on their best behavior. And it seems to be catching fire. So we're excited about that initiative. Other than that, we're as you've already heard tonight, we're doing our best to man all of our posts, try to cover classes. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together every day, figuring out who's going to cover what, because this or that teacher is unavailable or this aide is not reported to work because of either illness or because there's quarantine. So it's quite a job. That's all.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions for John? All right, now we have Mary D'Amico, the intermediate school. I saw her somewhere. I gotta find her again
Yes.
now. Oh, there she is.
So the middle school is actually going to start the Titan Strong initiative that John mentioned. So we just introduced it to the staff at our faculty meeting yesterday. And we are going to get moving on that as well. The other thing that is happening school-wide is the counselors are doing a fantastic job of we have had a pop-up pantry in the past if students needed items like deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes. And we also have had people donate clothes. So we are taking it and putting it in a centralized location. And students are going to be able to access clothing, different hygiene items, and we have some food items there as well. Because as you know, the need of our students, the financial situations are quite difficult for a number of them. So the counselors have just done a wonderful job of working on this. So thank you to them.
That's good news. Thanks.
Bonnie, before we finish between Mary and I just want to point out that this Titan Strong initiative also grew out of our staff. This came about because of our two new school psychologists, Veronica Burley and Megan Kraser. They were the ones who have really spearheaded this. So this is, again, an effort to support our kids, especially those who struggle.
I think it's great. Thank you. I'm glad that it's working. It seems to be working well in the elementary school, so that's good. Next up, we have Jim Burmaster for the high school. Hi, Jim.
Bonnie, thanks. Neil mentioned earlier about getting together on, I guess it's February 3rd for a graduation workshop, which is going to give us some time to explain things a little bit more. But I just wanted to mention that our graduation rates were released by the state. All of them became public around the state. And ours were quite disappointing, but not all that surprising with what we knew going into that last year. We had several factors that worked against us. We've been having students from that cohort of students drop out over the past 3 years that have kind of added up, despite the efforts that people at the school and outside the school have put into it. We had a cohort of students graduate from one of our special education class that received their certificates, which don't actually count as a graduate on the state records. And the two of those things hurt us quite a bit. But it's still disappointing, and there's still a lot of work that has to be done. So hopefully at this meeting on February 3rd, we'll be able to get into a little more detail with you and talk about some of the school-wide and district-wide solutions that we have to try and address those problems from early on, so that we don't run into these cohorts that have these problems like this. I will point out that there was at least some good news on the release of the graduation rates, that are 5- and 6-year graduation rates, which measure how many students graduate in that extra year, 5 years, or in that extra extra 2 years of 6 years. Our rates on that were quite good. We had 4 students finish up in their 5th year last year, making it so that we were at or above the Columbia County average and the New York State average for both those two metrics. So there's some good news, but obviously there's a lot of work to do too. Thanks.
So Jim, can I ask you, why aren't they counted? Why do they not count the graduation?
New York State counts as graduates those that get local diplomas, Regents diplomas, and Regents diplomas with advanced designation. They do not count any of the certificates. There are certificates that students can get for special education classes. There are certificates that students can get for career development and occupational studies classes. And those are certificates. They don't carry the same weight as a diploma because there aren't the same requirements. Many of those students that get these certificates end up being alternatively assessed. So that doesn't count as a positive on your graduation rate. It actually
That needs to change because we have kids that all have all different pathways, and I think that's doing a disservice to our students.
Well, we the students that are in that program, we have a fantastic program that has really lured families and students into this district. And despite what it might do to the graduation rate, it's a great program. We just had a new student just come into the classroom just this week, who moved from a different area, and it really benefits our kids. So I hope we continue that.
Me too. All right, thanks. Okay, Sandra Gardner, Instruction and Staff Development. Hi, Sandra.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to start just by giving a huge shout out to one of our employees that doesn't get noticed very often, but really behind the scenes. Terry Hoffman is putting 10, 12-hour days, weekends in on managing all of our data out of our office, with every single change that a student makes that comes with multiple hand entries that she's doing, as well as the state is constantly changing their requirements for us for attendance. And it just really would like to have her noted for that kind of work that she's putting in. The rest of my time, I would like to turn over to Erin Russo, where we are working on a project with our title grant. So Erin is currently working with us as an administrative intern in addition to her counseling job. So she's speaking to you tonight in that role.
I gotta find her.
Sandra.
Oh,
Thank
there's,
you, Sandra. Can you hear me?
We
I can hear
can.
you.
Great. Thank you for introducing me. My administrative internship project this year is to move Taconic Hills from a Title I targeted assistant school to a Title I school-wide program. I'm still learning about this process, which is why it's part of my internship. It's a great learning experience. So a targeted assistant school must spend all their Title I money on initiatives that directly impact students who are academically needy. For example, AIS programs, AIS teacher salaries. If we move to become a school-wide program, our Title I money can be used for initiatives that benefit all students, in the vein of a rising tide lifts all boats. So we would end up with more flexibility in how we spend those Title I funds. I will be conducting a needs assessment. Sandra and I actually met today, and it's going to be a lengthy process, but I think definitely worthwhile. We'll be conducting a needs assessment. There'll be a climate survey that'll be going out in late February. I'm sorry?
I think you're good, Erin.
Okay. I'll be sending a climate survey out in late February, as I'm also reviewing district test data. I'll be conducting individual interviews with various stakeholders. And I know there are a lot of people in the audience tonight. So if you are listening to this and would like to be included in some of those individual interviews, I urge you to either send me or send Sandra an email letting us know that you're interested in being part of an individual interview. The results of the needs assessment will be what drives what initiatives we include in our title grant application for next year. Moving from a targeted assistance program to a school-wide program gives us more flexibility in how those monies are spent. And your input is really important. So I'm really looking forward to conducting this needs assessment and to kind of finding out what initiatives people are interested in us looking into.
All right. Thanks, Erin. That sounds very interesting.
We do need board member participation too, so I would encourage at least a couple board members to participate with us.
Okay. I will.
Okay, great. So carrying Bonnie, great. Thank you.
Send me an email.
Yeah, dates, times, specific information or whatever you need.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, any questions for Erin or for Sandra? I gotta go back to my first screen. Okay. Next up, the business office, Sybil.
So we're gearing up for a new budget cycle.
Where she is, she would have schooled me.
In another very unpredictable environment. Ashley, are you able to share your screen and show the state aid chart? This data was just made available very early this morning. So as Dr. Howard said, we are still looking at this. Questar 3, NYSBA, New York State, school business officials, organizations are all still analyzing this information. there's a lot of ambiguity with the data that came out. Are you able to make it a little bit larger? Okay, so there's some notes at the bottom of the screen. And then this format is something that should look familiar. I've used it in the past. But a couple of things were a little complex this year. Number one, the governor has brought back the concept of collapsing expense-based aids into one broad services aid category. Underneath foundation aid, you see services aid listed in the left column, which is the aid that we're expecting this year based on the budget we put together last spring, and that was approved by the voters in June. And then the estimated aids that we are expecting in the middle column in the next budget year, 21-22. So in gray, underneath that services aid amount, I listed for you the expense-based aids that have been collapsed into that category. So this is something that was floated last year. It was rejected by the legislature. We fully expect the legislature to reject it again because all of those aids are based on expenses districts incurred in the prior year. So as you can see, that number is down right now, $135,000. It's still too early to necessarily be concerned about it for a couple of reasons. One, last year when it was proposed to collapse these aids, we still got the data that showed us how much those individual aids were. This year, we have not gotten that data. So I don't know what is behind that $1.73 million number in the middle column. On the very top line, foundation aid, you'll see that it is again frozen for the second year in a row at 1920 levels. So that is really where we would see an increase in New York State aid. And as you can see, there is no projected increase in foundation aid for next year. Universal pre-K funding has been the same for many, many years. High cost excess aid is the state aid we receive on BOCES placements for students. Private excess cost aid is state aid received on private placements for special education students who do not attend Taconic Hills. So those are also expense-based aids. And then building aid is really its own animal. It is solely based on capital projects that we have conducted over since the building was built. I think this number is going to change for 21-22. As Nick has mentioned to you over the course of the last several months, we're nearing completion on the 2018 project, but we have a large segment of flooring left to complete. That'll probably get done next summer. So in order for aid to start flowing, we would need to file final cost reports. Since I'm not able to do that yet, however, we've completed so much of the project, I worked with our financial advisor to file an early aid start request so that aid can start flowing in 21-22, which we really need because our debt service begins on the bond that we borrowed to finance the rest of the project in 21-22. So I think that building aid number is going to go up, but still working on that. What is very deceiving about the way that the state aid is released to schools, it's released in a top-down format, not side by side, which is why I put it together like this. If you look at the left column under the current year budget, you'll see that there is that pandemic adjustment amount, the reduction of $512,000, which we were told that we would experience last spring. So the executive budget effectively reduces what we're going to receive this year. But as you know, a little bit further down in the left column, that money came right back to us in the form of Federal CARES Act restoration funds. So at the top, the executive budget is removing it, saying that we are receiving less money. But then right underneath that, this is a new development this year, they've included our STAR payment. So that's money that we have already received from New York State. Eileen Olson confirmed that for me today. However, that's not new money. It is not new revenue. It was already included in our revenue projections of how we set the tax levy last year. So what the governor is showing you here is he's showing you his total cost of aid to Taconic Hills payment, but really it's just a subsidy to taxpayers. So it's very misleading, I find. In the middle column towards the bottom, you'll see a COVID-19 supplemental stimulus. So at this time, the only infusion of aid that we expect to receive next year, and that assumes the smaller $6 billion federal stimulus package that New York State may expect. In the event that that federal stimulus package does not pass, we will not see that $1.5 billion. So there's no increase of New York State aid. The state is relying solely on the federal government to replace aid to schools for next year. So not a completely bleak picture, but we have to be very cautious moving forward. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, going back to the first statement that you made, do I understand it correctly? So the less money we spend, the less money we get in the following year?
That's correct.
So we should spend more money and then we get more money. No.
Well, it's a combination, a balancing act really of really managing our expenses, because when I submit the ST3 at the end of a fiscal year, that also gives the state a picture of what we expect to spend next year. So I can also back off on some of those expenditures because we don't always spend 100% of our budget every year, so that it doesn't inflate our aid values too much. So we kind of do a little bit of both, Terry.
Okay, thank you.
Sybil, this is David. I have two questions.
Sure.
On the COVID-19 supplemental stimulus, that amount, is that based on the assumption of the $6 billion in federal stimulus funds to the state?
Yes.
So that's not written in stone. It could be more, it could be less, it could be
nothing.
That's correct. on all counts.
Okay. So, okay, I kind of figured that. The other thing is I don't quite understand why in the 2021-22 we have the local district funding adjustment, and not apply the same adjustment in the 2021.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So it's interesting that the executive budget proposes what our 21-22 STAR payment will be, which is impossible to do because we have no budget, we have no tax levy, we have no equalization rates set. However, the backup documentation that came with these state aid runs indicated that there will be a local district funding adjustment to school districts. And that will be either the value, the lesser of the value of your STAR or the amount of your COVID-19 supplemental stimulus amount. So for now, they're just plugging in that projected STAR amount, which, as I said, we don't have a lot of information yet about where that came from. We're still working on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ashley, can we go to the next slide, please? So with that, we've been working on putting together a preliminary 21-22 tax cap formula. So we have the components of that formula pretty well locked in up to a certain point. The tax-based growth factor was released at 0.62. That is an increase over last year of about 0.04%, not a lot. And then, of course, at the top, that is a picture of what the final tax levy was for the current 2021 school budget year. The second bullet, CPI has been finalized, 1.23%. It's the lowest level since the 16-17 budget cycle. As you know, it's either the lesser of CPI or 2%. So, that hurts us. For the years, we've talked about how the building blocks of this formula, first and foremost, take into account your prior year tax levy amount. So when you, quote unquote, leave money on the table in a year and you don't tax 100%, you start at a lower amount the following year. So in a year like this, where your CPI is so low, that will really diminish your taxing authority in that subsequent budget cycle. We did not levy the maximum amount last year, so we do have about $81,000 in carryover available. Our maximum allowable levy amount last year was 2.48%, and we levied 1.56. The current year capital, I'm sorry?
Can you explain what to some of the board members what the carryover amount means or where
Sure.
from?
So it is the difference between, it is actually a formula, but so at 2.48% last year, that would have been the difference of about $300,000 more in revenue. So what the formula says is that you can take either that amount that you didn't levy or a percentage that is the result of a formula, whichever is less. So for us this year, it's the whichever is less, which is the $81,000. So because we didn't levy that money, we're allowed to use it this year. It's you lose it. So we can add it to our taxing authority this year if we need to. So whenever we have carryover on the table, I always move forward like we will use it. And then of course, we can, when we get to that point in the cycle in about April, we can decide where you want to go. The current year capital exclusions will be dependent on that building aid number. So as soon as I find out if in fact the early aid will start flowing, then I can finalize that number. But right now, based on a 1.56% levy to levy increase for this year, we're looking at a ceiling of about 1.94% at this time. That could change, but right now our ceiling is under 2%.
Okay. Ron, are you okay?
Yeah, nothing, nothing a pandemic won't cure.
Okay.
So as we said last year, we have healthy reserves. We said that we would be okay this year. The governor has backed off on his threat to take away 20% of state aid. I'm glad that we didn't make drastic cuts like other school districts did out of fear. We prepared for that. I feel that we were smart in that way. And we said, we will be okay for a year or so. But we have to see how the state recovers from this.
Sybil,
Yes.
do you have an idea at this point in the fiscal year where we stand in terms of increased costs that we may have had to absorb because of COVID?
That's actually a little bit of what I would like to cover in the finance workshop, Dave. I do have some of that information compiled.
Okay.
So I can share it at that time.
Yeah, fair enough. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Sybil?
I'll keep you posted.
All right, thanks, Sybil. Okay, next up, we have Stella Ritter. Where's Stella? Oh, there she is. I feel like I'm like playing Hollywood Squares or something.
No funny things for me to hold up in Hollywood Square. As Jim mentioned, we have a new student from New York City in our 1214 class at the high school. Wonderful addition. And also our department, the special ed department, will be doing a book study on different teaching strategies as high leverage pieces to keep our students engaged, especially at the high school. We want them to finish. Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stella. We got Buildings and Grounds up next. Is Nick here? I haven't seen him.
I'm here.
Where is he? Yeah, I gotta find him.
Good evening, everybody. So we've completed the grinding and polishing at the auditorium area over the Christmas break. So that area of the flooring is now done. The atrium floor on the elementary side will be completed over the summer. And we also have some other VCT work, tile work, as well as carpet work to be done over the summer. One final thing on the capital project is the summer boiler or shoulder season boiler is in place and all of the plumbing is complete. The only thing we have left to do now is controls work. And once that work is done, it'll be ready for the springtime and it'll help us save some money on our fuel oil bill. And that's all I have for this evening.
Any questions for Nick? All right, thanks, Nick. Next up, we got Rick Vebrock, Transportation.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have a lot to report, but we are right in the middle of things, and we have some daily challenges with trying to keep track of which schools are remote, which schools are in person, and challenges with trying to keep enough drivers in the seats. We do have a couple of drivers that are out on long-term illnesses, but we've been fortunate in that when those drivers go out, one of our schools may go remote, which gives us an extra driver. So that has helped us a lot. Next week will be the telling point because we anticipate all of our schools to be in session. We'll get a chance to see how good our magic really is. So we carry on and we're supporting the cause. I do want to thank the board for the purchase of the snow brush. I don't have a video for you, but I can tell you that the use of it, when I first brought it to your attention, we felt that it would be purely a health and safety matter, that it would help a lot with that. Maybe not so much on the hours. But after going through the first major snowstorm that we had, we saved approximately a third of the time in getting the buses cleaned off. And the reason I don't have a video is because I was driving one of the buses or some of the buses through the snow brush to see how it worked. So again, thank you. Thank you for your consideration on that. We really appreciate it.
Any questions for Rick? All right, thanks, Rick. Next up is John Dodds. Are you here, John?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Good evening,
Okay.
everyone.
Hi.
Technology is busy helping with the COVID coming in and out. So we're constantly making sure computers are ready and coming in and out. And the IT department's been very busy fixing them and keeping them flowing and working. Something else that's brewing in the background is, if you've watched the news with Albany schools, they're having trouble buying technology. It's taking anywhere from 2 to 3 months to receive, if not longer. So we're planning ahead now for the summer purchases so that we have them on time. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer.
John, we have enough computers for everybody that stays home? Everybody has, we're not short on that?
No, we're
Did
not.
you hear me?
Yep, we're not short on computers.
Okay.
Is there any?
Yes, we have them, and I wish the public would know that anytime between 8 and 3, if they bring it in, anytime, we will fix it and get it back to them usually within one stop because we don't want them coming back in.
Is anybody having trouble with access or hotspots or?
We currently have 15 hotspots. They're coming in and out, rotating through. We're seem to be answering the need.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
We got next up is the cafeteria, Pam. I know I saw her. There she is.
Dinners we got.
You have to unmute.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Pam.
Okay, there we go. Things are going very smooth. The girls are really organized. Basically, we're cooking and the students are eating, and we've just had really good staff attendance. We haven't had any problems with many absences in the kitchen. So it's really going well, going smooth.
All right, thanks, Pam. Okay. We have old business. We have none at this time. New business. So we have 2 donations. We have 48 kids lap trays from Romanoff Products. And we have 2 copies of the book Cast by Isabel Wilkerson from Linda Lee. Can I have a motion for the approval of the donations? Motion, please.
So moved.
Motion. Terry, second. Dave, any questions about those donations? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ron?
Yep, aye.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the acceptance of the additional insurance proceeds in the amount of $1,817.34 from November 16th, 2020 accident in relation to vehicle number 24. Can I have a motion, please? Motion? Heidi, second.
Joe.
Joe. All right. Any questions?
What happened to vehicle number 24?
Car versus deer.
Ah.
The deer won.
And I'm assuming the amount was enough to correct the problems, the issues, whatever.
All except 500. Yes, that's our deductible.
No one got hurt right there, though.
Nobody got hurt. No kids on the bus.
I'm just curious, is the insurance for vehicles through the New York State Insurance Reciprocal also?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Dave, you muted again. Are you good?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Got the answer. I nodded my head.
Okay. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. So now we have the authorization of the disposal of obsolete or surplus equipment and supplies consisting of various middle school textbooks. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make
Motion? Dave? Second?
Joe.
Joe. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I always have the same question about books every time we dispose of them. No one else can use these books, right? These are just obsolete. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're out of date, some of them, and the others are just non-usable.
Okay, thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So typically, we do have a second public forum here, and we don't have that on here. So I do need, Ashley, if you could add that on. It looks like there's 2 people that want to speak in this second public forum. What I will say, I should have said in the first public forum, we give each speaker 3 minutes. So that's our time limit, and I will time this time around because I didn't do that the first time. And it looks like it's the same 2 people that spoke in the first public forum.
Bonnie, before you do that, I just wanted to make a statement. I just had, I'm not sure if folks realize that even through COVID, how important it is that people continue to donate blood. And I just wanted to let the community know that last weekend, there was the blood drive on Saturday at the school district. And my understanding from speaking with Mrs. Byrne, who I believe is the person who coordinates the whole thing, Neil, is that correct?
Yes.
That our drive had like the highest participation rate, and all of the people from the American Red Cross were commenting how unusual it was to have that many people cycle through. And they really did a great job. And I just wanted to let people know and give them that acknowledgement.
Well, thanks, Dave. That's good. Okay, so for the second public forum, we have Kevin Reese. 3 minutes, okay?
I'll be much less than 3 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need to go to
Not a
bed.
problem. I just forgot to mention a big thank you to the faculty and staff and how flexible they've been in switching from in-person to remote at a moment's notice. They work a lot of extra hours getting prepared for that. They're kind of ingenious in some of the things they've done. I've heard some teachers have put together what they call a COVID box of materials that they'll need to grab at the drop of a hat they keep under their desk, so they can just sort of grab it and be ready to teach from home. So they're really putting a lot of thought into what they're doing. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So thank you.
Oh, good. Thanks, Kevin. All right, Shayna.
Hi again. So during this meeting, some members of the THFA have reached out to express their frustration that the Board of Ed is not acknowledging any of our concerns that we've sent to you. Members are afraid of getting COVID, bringing it home to their families, and someone getting severely ill or possibly dying. We feel that our concerns are not being seriously considered due to the lack of response by the Board of Ed. So I just want to say the THFA's piece and leave it at that. Thank you.
So I am going to address that. So we, as the board, we do not run the day-to-day operations. So that's number one. You know, and I've worked through this whole entire thing myself, and I'm sure there's other board members that have worked through this whole entire pandemic. I work every single day. I'm exposed. My daughters are exposed every day. They both work in facilities where the COVID is rampant. And it's not that I don't have any sympathy, so please don't misunderstand. But this is not a board decision. This is, we give our administrative team, that's what we hire them to do. And they've made these decisions. They do have our support on the decisions that they make. So it's not that we, as a board, tell them what to do. That's not our role. Our role as a board is we make policy that they follow. That's what the administrative team does. So, you know, I don't want to be that I'm not sympathetic to what your needs are. I get it. I mean, everyone's scared. There's people that are where I work. People are afraid to even be near another person. We wear our mask. We try to social distance the best that we can. It's not a perfect world. And yes, this is all new for all of us. And, you know, like I said, I'm not being unsympathetic. It's just, we as a board, you write us letters, we read them all, but we don't run the school. We are not in charge of operating the school. That's it. That's all I have. Sorry. Okay. Moving on. So do we have any additional items to discuss?
Tiffany wanted to speak about PTO.
Okay.
Hi guys. Long time since I have showed up for anything, just because we simply haven't had anything to report for PTO. just because of COVID, things for me have looked a little bit different this year. All of the normal things I would be able to do, I haven't been able to do. That being said, I say we, but I really am in a one-man show this year. I'm hoping to do something for our families that feels semi-normal again. There was a fundraiser that was approved last year called Boone and Supply. I have gotten my head representative from that company to work with me and create an all online form. So I have to have, I'll have zero contact with anything, including money. The parents can do everything online. And I got them to do all product delivery straight to houses. So I don't have to organize a pickup. We don't have to do anything. And I didn't have to buy into it. So I figured it was worth a try. And if we can make a couple $100s for the kids to do something, you know, maybe come spring or the end of the school year, to give them something kind of positive in return, I would really love to be able to do that. But just wanted to let everybody know that we are still here. We're trying to come up with different things. It's just been a really big challenge considering all the safety protocols that we're trying to follow. But I will forward, I have a link once I get official approval. I'm hoping to get the form done at the end of the week. And I can forward it to each of you so you can see. It's a company called Boone and Supply, and they have all different things, kitchen supplies and bags and whatnot, that we were pretty excited about to do before. So just thought I would say hi, let you know we are still here. We're just working quietly, trying to keep everyone safe. So that's it.
Thanks, Tiffany. And I'm glad to see that you're back. All right. So now I need a motion to go into the executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person. Can I have a motion, please? Ron, could I have a second?
Second, Joe.
Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to go to a second link, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.